Starting off our list at number 10 is Cameron Diaz. Have you ever wondered what happened to this hilarious and beautiful actress? At one point in time, she was showing up in pretty much every movie that was brought to the big screen, but then out of nowhere we just kinda stopped seeing her. I didn't realize until recently that she actually hasn't been in anything since 2014. That was her last big year in the industry when we saw her in The Other Woman, Sex Tape, and Annie all in 1 year, and we haven't seen her since. Turns out last year she started making jokes that she retired, and so did her friends and previous co-stars. In March 2018, her close friend Selma Blair did an interview and said, "I would have liked to do a sequel, but Cameron's retired from acting. She's like, I'm done." This had Hollywood and fans wondering why the 45-year-old actress chose to retire without telling anyone. Not that she owes anyone an explanation, it just would have been nice to have a heads up. In 2018, it was confirmed that she has retired from acting and is now living a very low-key life. Since seeing her on the big screen, she has tied the knot to Benji Madden and has also been putting privacy above everything else. She turned her focus to wellness and has since released a few books now on health and aging. At number 9 is Chuck Norris. The actor has had a widely successful career, which is probably why it's been weird to have him missing from the acting industry. He has been a household name for nearly 50 years, but he recently made the decision to leave Hollywood without much of an explanation. Back in 2005, he turned his focus on his martial arts experience and debuted the World Combat League in the hopes of giving young fighters a chance to shine. He was still finding time to act, but he took a long break between 2005 to 2012. We saw him make a return in The Expendables 2 back in 2012, and then 3 years later in 2015 when he was a voice on the TV series The Goldbergs. Some fans believed he might have been making his return to acting, but during the 10 years he only had 2 credits to his name, and we haven't seen him ever since. Next up at number 8 is Shelley Duvall. You might remember her for her legendary performance as Wendy Torrance in The Shining. She established herself as one of the best actresses of her time with her extraordinary performances. However, in 2012 she disappeared out of the public eye and no one knew what the actress was going through in her personal life. It wasn't until 2016 that we got an explanation for her sudden disappearance. The actress appeared on the Dr. Phil show where she revealed that she had been struggling with a mental illness over the years. In her interview, you can tell that she is mentally unstable because she was discussing the fear of the Sheriff of Boddingham, which is a fictional character in Robin Hood. Not only that, but she was also claiming that the late Robin Williams is still alive and is actually shape-shifting.
I don't think he's dead.
Yeah, you don't think he's dead?
No.
Where do you think he is?
Shape-shifting?
Yeah.
She went on to explain that she has seen him before and that he looks good in some forms and other forms he doesn't. Once the interview was released, Dr. Phil was heavily criticized for airing the interview, which was deemed as exploitative of her mental illness. The interview is very hard to watch because you can see that the actress is truly struggling. Sliding into our number 7 spot is Jack Gleeson. The young actor played Joffrey in HBO's Game of Thrones. His character was one of the most hated characters in television history for being so vile and repulsive. He played the character from 2011 to 2014, but after the boy was killed off the show, Gleeson decided he wanted to step away from acting. The actor was always the first one to say that he is nothing like his character and left the business saying he didn't enjoy it as much as he used to. He was in the prime of his career but went on to tell interviewers that he didn't want to be in the spotlight and actually wanted to go back to school. He decided to enroll himself at the Trinity College in Dublin to study philosophy and theology. During an interview he said, and I quote, "I hate celebrity culture." So he returned back home to school and is also a part of the Dublin-based theatre company called Collapsing Horse. In at number 6 is Ariana Richards. The child actor rose to fame with her role in the original Jurassic Park movie in 1993. She continued to pursue acting and even reprised her role in 1997 for the Lost World Jurassic Park. Between 1998 and 2013, she seemed to have taken a break from acting as we didn't see her taking on any new roles. Back in 2013, she showed up in a TV movie called Battle Dogs, which led people to believe she might be making her way back into Hollywood. But she actually left the world of Hollywood behind and we haven't seen her on the screen ever since. Turns out the actress is now a painter and a very successful one at that. Her artwork is famously known because she does lifelike portraits where people can order them as special gifts. I'm not gonna lie, I think it is a little refreshing for a young woman to leave Hollywood and still pursue a different form of art and be successful at it. She's only 39 years old, so she still has plenty of time to make her way back into Hollywood if she really wanted to. Halfway through our list at number 5 is Jack Nicholson. The man is titled a legend when it comes to acting, which is probably why it's no surprise that he can do whatever he pleases to do. Stepping away from the limelight was one of his decisions that left people wondering why he just upped and left. Back when he was doing an interview with The Sun, the actor opened up and said, "I'm not going to work until the day I die. That's not why I started this. I mean, I'm not driven. I was driven, but now I'm not. I don't have to be out there anymore. In fact, there's part of me that never really liked being out there." Well, I guess it is as simple as that. We haven't seen him acting since 2010 when he took on the role as Charles in How Do You Know. Last year in 2018, it was rumored that he would be coming out of retirement to star in the American remake of Tony Erdmann. Nothing has yet been confirmed though. Taking the number 4 spot is Jonathan Taylor Thomas, also known as JTT, or the son of Tim Allen on the hit TV show Home Improvement. When the young actor left the show, preteen hearts were shattered all over the world. At just 16 years old, the actor decided he wanted to leave the popular television show in order to live a more normal life. Many people didn't understand his choice, but he says it was just something he had to do. When speaking on it back in 2013, he said, "I'd been going non-stop since I was 8 years old. I wanted to go to school, to travel, and have a bit of a break. An education is more surefire guarantee that you have possibilities open to you." JTT actually went to Harvard University and studied philosophy and history and finished his degree at Columbia University. When he left Home Improvement, he didn't completely disappear from Hollywood. He could be found in a few movies, doing voiceover work, and made some guest appearances on TV shows. But he couldn't be found between the years 2006 to 2013 as he declined being part of the Home Improvement finale, which is why fans went crazy when he appeared on Tim Allen's show Last Man Standing in 2013 to 2015. But his appearance was short-lived and we haven't seen him back since. Alright guys, at number 3 is Lelaine, who you might know as Hilary Duff's BFF in the Disney series Lizzie McGuire. The show skyrocketed the whole cast into fame and it appeared like the world was at their fingertips. However, not long after the show stopped airing, Lelaine completely vanished from the public eye. She didn't even appear in the big screen release of the Lizzie McGuire movie, which fans were super bummed about. She did an interview with Huffington Post where she refers to the years after Disney Channel as dark. She claims she went nuts and made bad decisions, one of them which had her arrested for the felony possession of crystal meth in 2008. Things got even worse for the young starlet as she was a no-show for her court date appearance. That's when the judge issued a $50,000 bench warrant for her arrest. Last we heard about the case was that she enrolled in the Asian American Drug Abuse Program. Her IMDb shows that every few years she booked a somewhat of a smaller project, but her record remains with a serious felony charge that she can't undo. Here we are at number 2 with Rick Moranis. The actor was adored for his role as Wayne Zelinsky in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. The actor's career was a massive success, appearing in things like The Flintstones, Brother Bear, and Gravedale High. In the 80s and early 90s, he was one of the hottest comedy actors around. Unfortunately, in 1997, his wife at the time passed away from a battle with breast cancer. The actor says he realized it was too difficult to make movies and raise his 2 children without his wife. He decided to walk away from the spotlight and focused on being a single dad. He didn't appear in anything from 1997 to 2001. He then continued to do some smaller voiceover work for the next 17 years. He was pretty much off of Hollywood's radar. In 2018, his voice was heard in an episode on the TV series The Goldbergs, but that is it. The actor has opened up about it and said he meant for it to be a short break at first, but during his break he realized he didn't really miss the industry. He enjoyed his time off and enjoyed being a dad. Taking our number 1 spot is Amanda Bynes. The Nickelodeon star was once in the prime of her career. She had a very successful career which began in 1998 and went all the way until 2010. Through different TV shows and movies, she had a huge fan base to support her as an actress, me being one of them. But the last movie we saw her in was Easy A all the way back in 2010. After that, her career came to a complete halt and no one really knew why. It wasn't until she began making headlines, and not for good reason. In 2012, she was arrested for driving drunk and hitting the side of a cop car. Luckily, no one was hurt, only minor paint damage was done to both vehicles. After that, fans started seeing Amanda get a little bit out of control. She began tweeting inappropriate comments about other stars and even called President Barack Obama and his wife ugly. She also pulled a Britney Spears and shaved half of her head and then filled both her cheeks with dermal piercings. She started walking the Hollywood streets in crazy colored wigs, trying to hide her face from the camera. In May of 2013, she was once again arrested, but this time for possession of marijuana and reckless endangerment after she threw a bong out of her Manhattan apartment window. Just 2 months later, Bynes was placed under involuntary psychiatric hold after she started a fire on a stranger's driveway. It was made clear that the actress was suffering from some sort of mental illness. In 2018, she came back to do an interview where she opened up about her past, and she said she hopes to return to the acting industry. I am hoping too, girl. She was one of my favorite actresses as a kid. Starting off the list at number 10 is Sean Connery. The actor first rose to fame during the 60s when he became the first ever James Bond. That is quite the title to have. After that, he continued to take on roles in box office hits like The Untouchables, Highlander, The Rock, and we all know it didn't hurt his career when he also played Indiana Jones' dad in the movie. We know that his last film before he retired was The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen back in 2003. This was the movie where he got into a fist fight with the director, Stephen Norrington. It wasn't revealed until years later just exactly why he starred in a movie he hated so much with the director that he got into an altercation with. Turns out he had turned down both Lord of the Rings and The Matrix, so he felt like there was no way he could turn this one down. He told Entertainment Weekly, "I got offered The Lord of the Rings and I turned it down because I didn't understand it. I was offered The Matrix twice and I turned it down because I didn't understand it. I don't understand this movie, but I will be damned if I'm going to turn it down." After that, he basically called it quits on acting, and he has been enjoying retirement ever since. At number 9 is the beautiful actress Meg Ryan. She has had a very successful acting career, which is why it was shocking when she just decided to walk away from it. We haven't seen her in a movie since 2015 when she took on a minor role, and many of us didn't even know she quit. She kind of just disappeared. We only found out last year on June 9, 2018 when she joined her once co-star Gwyneth Paltrow for a panel discussion in LA. She sat down to do an interview for Gwen's In Goop Health event. The two of them talked candidly about working in Hollywood and Meg's decision to quit acting a few years ago. Meg spoke about it by saying, "I didn't really aim to be an actor. I was a journalism major at school and a curious person, and I wanted to go back into the world and figure out who I am in relationship to other things and other people and other environments." Over the years, she has majorly stepped out of the spotlight and rarely makes appearances at public events. That doesn't stop the paparazzi from snapping some pictures though. So at our number 8 spot is Dylan Sprouse. You would know him and his twin brother Cole Sprouse from the Disney Channel's The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and then all their other Disney appearances after that, like The Sweet Life on Deck. Both of them had huge success at a young age. It was reported that they were earning $40,000 per episode at the height of their career. In 2011, the twins pulled away from the public eye without any explanation why. In 2013, some customers were startled at a coffee shop in the East Village when Dylan Sprouse was pouring lattes and craft beers. Turns out that Dylan went on to study at NYU, which is where he developed a passion for brewing. He did an internship for some time at a Brooklyn bourbon distillery and has a passion for mead in particular. He is now running his own brewery, which he added into the William Vale Hotel in Williamsburg, called the All Wise Meadery. During an interview with Vanity Fair in 2018, he refers to acting as a commission type job and says that the meadery provides a stable paycheck. He also admitted that he often gets compared to his brother Cole Sprouse, who landed a lead role as Jughead in the hit TV series Riverdale. When asked about his brother's TV show, he said, "Don't tell my brother, but I've only seen the first episode. If I'm being honest, when I first saw Riverdale, I had no idea which twin it was, so he could totally just pretend it was him and take the credit for it." In spot number 7 is Edward Furlong. He's best known for his role as John Connor in the 1991 Terminator 2 Judgment Day. He was starring alongside two huge stars, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Linda Hamilton. The role made him incredibly successful, which would make you think he was on to bigger and better things from there on out. However, only 3 years after the successful movie, one director claimed the young actor was, and I quote, "clearly on a path to disaster." Unfortunately, his prediction happened to be true. It seems like the young actor couldn't handle the pressures of being in the business, so he turned to drinking and drugs, racking up multiple arrests over the years. He had arrests for drug possession, assault, and stealing lobsters from a supermarket. During an interview with People in 2006, he simply said, "Hollywood me up, man. Later in the interview, he said he had turned his life around, but that didn't seem to be the case. After that, he had more than one arrest regarding domestic turmoils. We haven't seen him in anything in years, and to be honest, we probably wouldn't even recognize him. At number 6 is Phoebe Cates. Back in the 80s, she was one of the biggest names in Hollywood, which is why it was hard to understand why she just kind of fizzled out of the spotlight. She made her first big debut in the movie Paradise and continued to have success in movies which had her fans believing she was here to stay. You may remember her from the later movies she did like The Anniversary Party or Gremlins. In 1989, she got married to Kevin Kline, a very successful actor who we saw as Maurice in the 2017 Beauty and the Beast live-action movie. Kline opened up saying that when they decided to start a family, they didn't want work to take away from their time with the children. He told Playboy, and I quote, "We have agreed to alternate so that we're never working at the same time. But whenever it's been her slot to work, Phoebe has chosen to stay with the children. It seems like she quietly just kind of left the industry and retired from acting just to be a mom. She's done acting, but she still spends a lot of time doing charity work. Her son has type 1 diabetes, so she devotes her time towards raising funds for a cure. She also started her own boutique in 2005 called Blue Tree. She says, I quote, "I always wanted to have a general store. If I could have a photo booth and sold candy, I would have. Hey, the heart wants what it wants, and I guess hers just doesn't want acting anymore." Halfway through the list at number 5 is Randy Quaid. Yes, Dennis Quaid has a brother, and they look nothing alike, so don't feel bad if you didn't put the connection together. Dennis has had a very successful acting career where he spent years being called a Hollywood heartthrob. However, Randy has had a successful career also, with 119 acting credits to his name on IMDb, but he took on different roles than his brother did due to the difference in their looks. In 2009, his problems began when he and his wife were arrested for fraud by using an invalid credit card at an inn. They were released on bail but then failed to appear in court, and that's when warrants for their arrest were issued. Eventually, the two of them appeared in court, but the charges against the actor were dropped due to lack of evidence. Lucky him. Only 1 year later, the two of them were charged again, but this time for burglary after they spent 5 days staying in the guest house in a home they once owned. Once again, they failed to appear in court and warrants for their arrest were issued again. Turns out they moved to Canada, but they ended up getting arrested for their outstanding warrants. Taking the number 4 spot is Mara Wilson, aka Matilda. She was one of the most well-known and beloved child stars of the 90s, appearing in the movies Miss Doubtfire and then Matilda. But after she rose to fame, she disappeared from the spotlight in the blink of an eye. Years down the road, in 2016, she explains why she quit Hollywood in a memoir she wrote called Where Am I Now? True Stories of Girlhood and Accidental Fame. She explains that she didn't fit the look that Hollywood wanted as she got older. She said, "I wasn't getting any parts. I realized I don't fit their idea of what a Hollywood actress looks like. There's no room for me here. It's hard to come out of that sane and without some serious doubts about yourself." That's when she began to immerse herself in school, theater, and writing. After she graduated college, she admits in her book that she's never felt better. She writes, "Things have gotten a lot better since I left Hollywood. A great weight lifted." Now she lives in New York, where she's become a part of the comedy and writing scene. She happily lives in Queens with her 2 cats and says that yes, she still gets recognized as Matilda. But that is no surprise because she literally looks the exact same. Alright guys, at number 3 is Frankie Muniz, who you might know as Malcolm from the classic TV series Malcolm in the Middle. The show ran from 2000 to 2006 and is basically what put him on the map in the acting world. He also did other movies like Big Fat Liar, Agent Cody Banks, and Sharknado. Needless to say, he had a wildly successful career. His acting resume is stacked with a number of different credits, which is why I was so stunned when I found out that he walked away from Hollywood and is now running an olive oil shop. Yes, that is a thing. Turns out acting is no longer his main focus anymore, although you will see him popping up in some projects once in a while. After he left his full-time acting career, he and his fiancée Paige Price now own an olive oil shop called Outrageous Olive Oils and Vinegars in Old Town Scottsdale. If you go, you will actually spot him sitting behind the register. The now 32-year-old says, "We had been customers at the store before and we just knew we liked the product and we wanted to do something together. Now it's become our lives." The former actor, who was once practically drowning in fame, money, and success, says that he's found a new passion: payroll. He said, "I love doing payroll. I love doing anything with the financials. I'm a numbers guy, so this has been like a dream come true for me." Amen. To each their own. At number 2 is Orlando Brown, the Disney star most known for his role on That's So Raven. After That's So Raven, he went on to other acting projects and also got into the music industry. But over the past few years, Brown has disappeared from Hollywood and has found trouble with the law instead, getting arrested for multiple different things. He was arrested for burglary, which was actually caught on tape, rookie mistake, so he couldn't even get away with it. TMZ posted a video of him moments leading up to the burglary where he takes a cloth to cover up the camera, but he didn't even wear a mask to do so. He is literally the worst criminal ever. He was arrested again in September 2018 for another burglary charge in Las Vegas. He remained in jail on $13,000 bail, which includes bail from his previous arrest charges for drug possession and resisting a public officer and domestic battery. In his latest mugshot, he showed off a new tattoo on his chest, the face of Raven-Symoné, his co-star from the show. He also had a huge smile on his face, so it looks like he's not too upset by things. I think it is safe to say we won't be seeing him on our TV screens anytime soon. Taking our number 1 spot is Daniel Day-Lewis. People were shocked in 2017 when he basically just quit acting and retired from acting altogether. Some didn't believe that he would actually be done, but we haven't seen him in anything ever since, so I think it's time that we better start coping with this. It was announced publicly in June of 2017 saying, Daniel Day-Lewis will no longer be working as an actor. He is immensely grateful to all of his collaborators and audiences over the many years. This is a private decision and neither he nor his representatives will make any further comment on the subject. The actor later did an interview with Variety where he opened up about his choice to retire, and he was told that people don't think he's really done with acting or Hollywood. His response to that was, I didn't want to get sucked back into another project. All my life I have mouthed off about how I should stop acting, and I don't know why it was different this time, but the impulse to quit took root in me and that became a compulsion. It was something I had to do. It's hard to say what exactly he's up to these days because all we get is a few random pictures from the paparazzi of him just walking around. Alright guys, there is our part 2 list. Let me know what you're thinking and feeling down in the comments below, and hit that thumbs up button if you liked it. I'm going to end this video by responding to some of your comments. Shamili Tak Tak says, Joss, you look so good in this video. You should wear that tracksuit every day, every day. You go girl, yeah. Well, that is a lot of hype for a tracksuit. But maybe I will wear it for one more day just for you, but probably not every day. John Bob says, I'm so glad you pronounce button, not button. Since when did T's become silent? There are a couple similar channel hosts that do, and I avoid the channel just because of this. It annoys me that much. Yeah, I've heard people pronounce it as button. However, I don't think the word button should annoy someone that much, but I'm glad I don't annoy you. Sophia Schulfer says, I saw your video on I.O. and I have a question. Are you okay? Yes, finally someone asked me if I am okay. Thank you, Sophia. Yes, I am okay. Franklin Francis says, love your videos and your sister channel tier list. Thank you. If you guys haven't checked out that channel, make sure you do. It is linked down below. On that note, I am getting out of here. I am your host, Joss, and I will see you next time. Today, one of our lists continues once again with a part 3. Jesus, take the wheel. You guys absolutely love the innocent Hollywood gossip where I dish out all the details on where some actors have ended up. Normally you can't get rid of a successful actor in Hollywood, but some of them just willingly walk away or just vanish without any explanation at all. Let's get started with our part 3 list of top 10 actors who disappeared from Hollywood. Starting off our list at number 10 is Angus T. Jones. The young actor made his big break on the show 2.5 Men, but quit the show after 10 long seasons. His reasoning for leaving the show was because he felt the show was filth. He even went as far as telling viewers to stop watching it. Angus explains that as he got older, he felt the show went against his religious views. It was reported that the young actor was earning about $350,000 an episode, but he still felt confident in his decision to walk away from the show. After leaving, he joined different Christian groups like Forerunner Chronicles, where he made testimonial videos about his faith. He ended up becoming the president of Entertainment at Tonight, which is an events company co-founded by Diddy's son, Justin. When asked if he has any interest in returning to acting, he says, the door is definitely still open for me to do that, but I am taking things slowly. I'm kind of liking the ability to travel and to move around at a moment's notice and not have to be in one spot for years at a time. Well, that is fair enough. Good news is he's still young and has a lot of time to make his return. At number 9 is Brittany Ashton Holmes. Ever wonder what happened to that adorable little Darla from Little Rascals? You know, the girl Alfalfa secretly loves and writes his famous line to? "Dear Darla, I hate your stinking guts. You make me vomit." I mean, if I got a letter that started out like that, I might quit acting too. The young actress was only 5 years old when she got the part in the movie remake of the classic show. The whole cast was great, but she definitely stole the show. After the movie was released, she continued to act but only got a handful of gigs. She ended up retiring from acting very early on in her career after she finished the 1996 sci-fi movie Inhumanoid. She went off to school and is currently working on getting a degree in political science and is now 30 years old. Before MySpace was deleted, she wrote, "I was an actress when I was little and did this movie called Little Rascals. It's like really embarrassing to watch and I don't want to act anymore." She is still living in LA though, so maybe one day we will see her on our screen once again. Swiping the number 8 spot is Peter Ostrom, also known as Charlie Bucket in the original 1971 Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. The child actor was just 12 years old when he was selected to play the role. After the movie, he went on to say that he really enjoyed working on the film, but that he decided not to sign a 3-film contract when the movie was over. When he returned home from filming the movie, he says he grew an interest in horses and was interested in becoming a veterinarian one day. He no longer had an interest in being part of the Hollywood world. He ended up going to Cornell University College of Veterinary Medicine in 1984 to receive his certificate. His earnings from the movie are actually what funded his purchase of his very first horse. During an interview with Express, he said, "Looking back, my paycheck was paltry, but it was during filming that I became interested in medicine. So I bought my first horse with my earnings, and that started my current career path as a vet." Later on in 2005, he moved to New York with his wife and 2 children, and as of 2018, he works out of the Countryside Veterinarian Clinic where he mainly works with horses and cows. As for acting, he says that he wanted to live a normal life and had declined reporters and interviews for a long period of time. He did admit that sometimes he misses acting, but says his life as a vet has also been his dream for many years. Taking the number 7 spot is Karen Parsons. She's famous for playing Hilary Banks on Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Outside of the show, she had other acting success, but we haven't seen her on the big screen since 2002. Her last movie was 13 Moons and her last TV series was The Job. She up and left her acting career after that and has been dedicating herself to changing the lives of other people. In 2013, she founded a non-profit organization that teaches kids all about figures in Black history. She called it Sweet Blackberry. She did an interview with Huffington Post where she spoke about the importance of her organization. She said, I quote, "When you only hear about a handful of stories, the message is, every once in a while a special Black person comes along. And that's a dangerous message to send to everyone. It does nothing but harm the idea of Black people. I think it's really important to tell these stories because there are lessons to be learned. Incredible lessons about perseverance and determination and opportunity to do something great." Her organization did a project that shared the story of the first Black female pilot named Bessie Coleman, which ended up being a huge success. And at number 6 is Michael Schofling. He won the hearts of many young girls when he took on the role of Jake Ryan in the classic movie 16 Candles. He started the movie back in 1984 and quit acting not that long after in 1991. Fans were wondering whatever happened to the heartthrob, and we later found out that in between booking roles, he got into making furniture. He now has a successful furniture business in his home in Pennsylvania. When asked about why he made the career path switch, he told LA Times, "Actors spend most of their time out of work, so I actually spend more time making furniture. The thing about furniture that's much better than acting is that it's just me. There's no director, no script, the concept is me, unless a client wants something. In film work, you do the best you can under the given circumstances, but you don't have control. At least I don't." Well, I'm sure people would love the chance at buying a chair from Jake Ryan. Halfway through at number 5 is Barrett Oliver. Some say he was the most talented child actor of the 80s after he took on the role as Bastian in The Never-Ending Story. After the success that 1984 movie brought him, he went on to star in movies like The Twilight Zone and The Secret Garden. People thought he was well on his way to be the next Hollywood star, but he ended up ditching acting at the young age of 16. 16. In 2004, there was an update on where he was at in his life, and it confirmed that he was a photography teacher in California, where he holds workshops and demonstrations about the craft. One fan visited his photo exhibition in California and posted online saying he has a full beard, wears glasses, and has long hair. His voice was recognizable, he wasn't really tall, and spoke quietly. And let me tell you, they were not lying. He doesn't show any signs of regret or desire to return to Hollywood or acting, and fans aren't totally sure if he would even be able to at this point. Here we are at number 4 with Jeff Cohen. You might remember him from his role as Chunk in the legendary The Goonies. The classic movie came out in 1985, and he continued his acting career up until 1991. When asked why he left the industry, he cracks jokes saying that puberty forced him into early retirement as a child actor. He explains that as he got older, finding work was a lot more difficult. Once acting was out of the picture, he found a passion for law and attended the University of California, Berkeley, earning a Bachelor of Science in Business Administration. The former actor went on to become a lawyer, and in 2008 he was named one of the top 35 executives under 35 years of age. He continues to be a successful lawyer and says that acting has benefited his legal career because it makes him more empathetic for his clients and less academic. He has also done work for the Huffington Post and BNBC from time to time about business and legal subjects, so I guess he's still in Hollywood in some sense. Alright guys, at number 3 is Gene Hackman. The actor blessed our screens for years, but we haven't seen him since 2004 when he starred in Welcome to Mooseport. It's been said that he never officially retired, but we kind of just figured it out on our own, seeing as he hasn't worked on anything in years. Not to mention he is 89 years old now. Ever since he left the acting industry, he's taken his talent and skill to print instead. He began working with archaeologist Daniel Menahan to write 3 historical fiction novels. That's right, our man Hackman is known to be an author now. On top of his fiction novels, he also wrote 2 solo ones. In 2011, he wrote Payback at Morning Peak, and in 2013, he wrote a book called Pursuit. While fans are still missing him on the screen, I'm sure, they must be glad he's still putting his wit and talent into something. In at number 2 is Jake Lloyd. The once child star took on the role of the young Anakin Skywalker in the highly anticipated Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. What would seem like the opportunity of a lifetime was quickly taken from him when the movie didn't live up to its expectations. It was said that his performance got lumped into the overall fan disappointment of the movie. Before that though, he did book some other roles on TV series like ER and The Pretender. But it seems like after Star Wars he left his acting career behind. Between the years 1999 to 2002, he has smaller credits, but mostly for being the voice on Star Wars video games. Since then, the actor has made headlines, but for all the wrong reasons. We have learned that he suffers from schizophrenia and also had a few run-ins with the law. Taking our number 1 spot is Danny Lloyd. For decades, horror fans have been asking author Stephen King, what happened to that kid from The Shining? Well, I am here to give you the very unscary truth. He became a pig farmer and a science teacher. The actor at the time was only 5 years old, and now he is in his 40s, married, and a father of 6. In 2013, he did his first episode since he was a kid with Daily News, where he opened up about his normal life, saying that people don't recognize him when he goes out in public. He explained that he did continue acting but ended up giving up when he was a teenager. He said, I quote, "We kept trying for several years until I was in high school, and I stopped at about 14 with almost no success." Danny says he enjoyed being in the movie but went on to work at a local Walmart and drove a tractor on a hog farm. Now he teaches biology at a community college outside of Louisville. He watched The Shining for the first time when he was 16 years old with a group of friends and says that he was not scared. Just a few weeks ago, the sequel to the movie dropped its official trailer for Dr. Sleep, and fans were a bit butthurt that Danny won't be returning to reprise his role. Alright guys, there is our part 3 list. Share your thoughts down in the comments below and give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. For now, let's check out some comments from my last video. David Esterly says, I was almost in tears after seeing and hearing that Infinity War scene with Tom Holland again. Yeah, I think that scene will forever make us cry. Thomas Engelman says, hi, I came here 4 seconds after this video dropped. Wow, that is record-breaking timing. Bill Stafford says, would I get my chest hair waxed for a movie scene? Not no, not hell no, but oh hell no. Hey, I do not blame you. Stephen Miller says, first time watcher, loved it. You are a great hostess, A. Beauty. A. You must be a Canadian. Alright guys, that's all I have for you today. Stay on this screen if you want to keep watching more Beyond the Screen videos. I'm your host Joss, and I will see you next time. Normally, people like to hear about the latest gossip about the biggest celebrities in the limelight, but apparently you guys like finding out about the ones who left. That's right, today we continue a part 4 list of top 10 actors who disappeared from Hollywood. Let's get started. Starting off our list at number 10 is Eric Von Detten. He's known for a lot of his work like Recess, The Princess Diaries, Toy Story 3, 8 Simple Rules, Days of Our Lives, and much more. He's pretty much had a jam-packed acting career which began in 1991 and sadly came to an end in 2010. It's hard to believe anyone would want to walk away from a resume like that, but he did. He walked away from the limelight and went on to live a pretty regular lifestyle. He is currently 36 years old and is working a full-time job in sales. He recently got married in 2018 and says that he still acts from time to time, but only in his local community center just for fun. In November 2018, Romper did an exclusive interview with him about why he left Hollywood out of nowhere. He said that he always knew he wanted to settle down and start a family, so he just knew that it was his time. He explained how difficult it is to make a career out of acting and also have a family, but says hats off to the actors who are able to maintain their steady career. At number 9 is Shirley Temple. The once child star will forever be remembered by her sweetness, cute songs, and dance. How could anyone forget her song Good Ship Lollipop? The world was sad to hear that she passed away back in 2014 at age 85, but still goes on to remember her career. Always. She spent her entire childhood in the spotlight but ended up leaving the industry at age 22. She explained she left because as she got older she realized she was still being typecasted and was no longer happy with the films that she was a part of. She up and left from Hollywood, and when she returned as a television host years later for a few years, fans were thrilled. Unfortunately, that only lasted 3 years and then she completely walked away and turned to politics instead. That's right, she disappeared from Hollywood but ended up joining the United Nations delegation in 1969 and became the US ambassador to Ghana. She spent her final years of life living in the Woodside, California. The Times wrote a final statement about the actress saying, "Although she may always be best remembered as America's sweetheart, the woman who left the screen at 22 saying she had enough of pretend ended up leaving a considerable mark on the real world." Taking over our number 8 spot is Kel Mitchell. He's famously known for being a Nickelodeon star headlining on the show Kenan and Kel. And when he disappeared from Hollywood, people began to speculate and rumors began to spread, like they always do. Next thing you know, the actor is dead at 27, according to the news that is. His false death circulated the news and social media back in 2006, when really all along he was very much alive and well. His disappearance from the public eye still remained a mystery, but he finally opened up during an interview with Culture in 2013 about what he has been up to. Turns out he has kept himself busy writing, acting in, and directing the occasional films, but his main focus right now has been on Christianity and raising a family. In recent years, he made his return to act on the sitcom called Game Shakers, and it has been announced that we might see him in upcoming projects later this year. So all you Nickelodeon fans, just stay tuned. But don't get your hopes fully up, because I could be lying to you. Swiping the number 7 spot is Elizabeth Hurley. She's best known for her earlier work in Austin Powers, but more recently for her roles on the hit TV series Gossip Girls, Runaways, and The Royals. Despite her talent and success, she vanished from the spotlight and the industry from 2005 to 2010, and then again from 2014 to 2017. She kind of just comes and goes as she pleases, apparently. People have always wondered why exactly she up and left in the first place, and apparently it was because she wanted a different life at the time. In 2005, she told the New York Post that she was no longer going to act in movies because she wanted to focus on raising her son. She stuck to her word because she didn't appear in anything until 2010. She said, I quote, "Looking after my son became my #1 task, and it was a joy to have someone else to focus on. I was 36 and had been worrying about myself for quite long enough. I stopped doing movies and TV for the first 8 years of his life, and I don't regret it for a moment." Now she is 54 years old and owns her own bikini line called Elizabeth Hurley Beach. In spot number 6 is John Hughes, the actor famously known for his role in 16 Candles, Pretty in Pink, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and The Breakfast Club. Not only was he an actor, but he was also a director and even wrote some of Hollywood's classics like Home Alone, Flubber, and Beethoven. Needless to say, he had quite the successful career. His acting career only lasted 5 years though, and in 1991 he quit everything and moved to Chicago in 1995. From then on, he was gone from the Hollywood limelight but continued to write and work on screenplays. He enjoyed living a more private lifestyle while being able to still work on his passion, which is writing. Sadly, back in 2009 on August 6th, he was walking near his hotel in Manhattan and suffered from a heart attack. Not long after, he was pronounced dead at just 59 years old. But no one could ever forget him since he is still a part of some of our favorite cult classics. Halfway through the list at number 5 is Lark Voorhees. The young actress stole our hearts when she played Lisa on the hit series Saved by the Bell. Once the series was over, she went on to reprise her role in the series Saved by the Bell: The College, and then the TV movie Saved by the Bell: Wedding in Las Vegas. But after that, she just seemed to disappear out of the spotlight, only booking smaller roles, mainly indie films or TV movies. The last time anyone saw her at all on the screen was in 2012 when she starred in Closer to God: Jessica's Journey. She showed up years later with a ton of plastic surgery done to her face and admitted to having bipolar disorder. Currently, she is living with her mom in California, where her mom says there are things that have traumatized her and she is just working on getting better. She has turned to writing in the meantime and has released books that are all self-published. On top of that, people began to question why her face had unusual discoloration, so she publicly stated that she also had been diagnosed with lupus. She even went as far as filing a lawsuit against the National Enquirer, who published a story about her face discoloration, stating that she had a drug problem. She hopes that she can be an advocate and an influence on those who suffer from similar illnesses. Coming in at number 4 is Carrie Henn. The actress was only 9 years old when a casting call went up in her hometown for the space horror movies Aliens in 1986. Even though she had never acted before, she somehow caught the eye of the director and she booked the role of Newt after their very first meeting. Her brother Chris was also cast in a smaller role, but his performance wasn't shown until the director's cut was released in 1992. She was basically living the dream being involved in a movie like that, but neither she nor her brother ever took on another role after that. Literally, her entire acting career began and ended all with one movie. People always wondered what happened to the little girl, and she has since opened up about why she got a little taste of Hollywood but quickly left. She says it was because she didn't want to live in LA. At the time, her family was living in England and it would have meant that she would have to leave her family. They couldn't pick up and move to LA because they were a military family and were stationed there. Henn is now an elementary school teacher and she says she occasionally signs copies of the Aliens DVD for her students. Alright guys, at number 3 is Alison Lohman. The talented actress has starred in a variety of movies and TV series like Seventh Heaven, Safe Harbor, Drag Me to Hell, and more. Her career was on a roll but then came to a halt in 2009 where she just seemed to go off the map. Between the years 2009 to 2015 we didn't see anything from her, but people have always wondered why. Turns out she put a pause on her acting career so that she could focus on being a mom. She was living a pretty normal lifestyle trying to raise her son Billy, which was kept a secret for an entire year apparently. She moved to Romania with her husband and gave birth there, so the news wasn't revealed until the following year in August 2011. She stunned fans when she returned to acting in 2015 but disappeared again the following year. We haven't seen her in anything since, but according to her Twitter, she is now an acting coach. In our number 2 spot is Gary Busey, the legendary actor who has appeared in over 150 movies including Lethal Weapon, Point Break, and Predator 2. He quickly rose to fame and stardom back in 1978 when he played Buddy Holly in The Buddy Holly Story, which earned him an Academy Award nomination. Just 10 years later, he suffered from serious head injuries after crashing his motorcycle in California. He wasn't wearing a helmet at the time of the crash and had to have immediate surgery, where he was left with severe and permanent brain damage. He did continue on with his acting career but often made headlines for his addiction to cocaine and erratic behavior. In more recent years, his career has died down and we haven't seen him in anything since 2016. He and his wife did appear on the Dr. Phil show in 2018 where they spoke about his acting career and how his brain injury has affected him. His wife Stephanie says she feels like everyone has misjudged him and wanted to share his life story. They even wrote a book together called Buseyisms: Gary Busey's Basic Instructions Before Leaving Earth. earth. Taking our number 1 spot is Heather Donahue. We watched her take on a role in one of the horror movie classics, The Blair Witch Project. The movie came out in 1991 and stamped the arrival of found footage horror. It literally blew everyone's mind. The actress made a variety of appearances in indie horror movies and on TV, starring in It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. But despite everyone loving and being totally convinced by her performance in Blair Witch, she never booked any high-profile leading roles. She ended up just leaving the industry as a whole back in 2005. When asked about it during an interview, she said, "I took all my stuff into the desert relating to my acting career and burned it all." But she did admit to keeping the blue ski cap from the movie poster. She joked and said if things get really bad, she can just sell it on eBay. So where did she go and what has she been doing all these years? Turns out she has been growing marijuana, mostly for medical purposes, she says. Mostly. She even writes about it in her book, which she wrote, called Grow Girl. She ended up living in California with a bunch of growers and their pot wives who help build grow rooms and tend to the crops. Alright, we are at the end here, guys. Let me know what you think of this list down in the comments and make sure you hit that thumbs up button so that I know you liked it. I'm going to end this video by responding to some of your comments. Willie Oberman says, "You wear an unusual outfit. Is that the new look in Hollywood these days?" I'm not sure. You're gonna have to ask someone who is in Hollywood. David Hall says, "You are too hard on yourself. You have a nice voice. Could listen to you always." Honestly, I just hate listening to my voice. It's like nails on a chalkboard. Jimson Brown says, "Her voice is hard to take." Well, there you have it, folks. Thanks, Jim. Charlie Don't Surf 70 says, "She was one of your favorite actresses as a kid. You still look like a kid." Well, I am flattered that you think I look young, but I am going to be 27 soon, so I don't think I qualify as a kid anymore. Alright guys, that's all I have for you today. Hit that notification bell so that you don't miss another video. I've been your host, Joss, and I will see you later. What's going on YouTube? I'm your host Joss and welcome back to Top 10 Beyond the Screen. If you haven't already, make sure you're following us on our new social media pages. They are linked down below. And of course, don't forget, it is tradition around here that if you stick around until the end of this video, you can join me as I respond to some of your comments. Today, one of our lists continues with a part 2. Every single day we get all the celebrity updates, news, scandals, whatever it might be. We are always in the loop simply by scrolling through our social media. That is because these celebrities have remained in the spotlight, but what about the ones who haven't? That's right, today we are doing a part 2 list of top 10 actors who disappeared from Hollywood part 2. Let's jump in. Starting off the list at number 10 is Sean Connery. The actor first rose to fame during the 60s when he became the first ever James Bond. That is quite the title to have. After that, he continued to take on roles in box office hits like The Untouchables, Highlander, The Rock, and we all know it didn't hurt his career when he also played Indiana Jones' dad in the movie. We know that his last film before he retired was The League of Extraordinary Gentlemen back in 2003. This was the movie where he got into a fist fight with the director, Stephen Norrington. It wasn't revealed until years later just exactly why he starred in a movie he hated so much with the director that he got into an altercation with. Turns out he had turned down both Lord of the Rings and The Matrix, so he felt like there was no way he could turn this one down. He told Entertainment Weekly, "I got offered The Lord of the Rings and I turned it down because I didn't understand it. I was offered The Matrix twice and I turned it down because I didn't understand it. I don't understand this movie, but I will be damned if I'm going to turn it down." After that, he basically called it quits on acting and he has been enjoying retirement ever since. At number 9 is the beautiful actress Meg Ryan. She has had a very successful acting career, which is why it was shocking when she just decided to walk away from it. We haven't seen her in a movie since 2015 when she took on a minor role, and many of us didn't even know she quit. She kind of just disappeared. We only found out last year on June 9th, 2018 when she joined her once co-star Gwyneth Paltrow for a panel discussion in LA. She sat down to do an interview for Gwen's In Goop Health event. The two of them talked candidly about working in Hollywood and Meg's decision to quit acting a few years ago. Meg spoke about it by saying, "I didn't really aim to be an actor. I was a journalism major at school and a curious person, and I wanted to go back into the world and figure out who I am in relationship to other things and other people and other environments." Over the years, she has majorly stepped out of the spotlight and rarely makes appearances at public events. That doesn't stop the paparazzi from snapping some pictures though. Swipe our number 8 spot is Dylan Sprouse. You would know him and his twin brother Cole Sprouse from the Disney Channel's The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, and then all their other Disney appearances after that, like The Sweet Life on Deck. Both of them had huge success at a young age. It was reported that they were earning $40,000 per episode at the height of their career. In 2011, the twins pulled away from the public eye without any explanation why. In 2013, some customers were startled at a coffee shop in the East Village when Dylan Sprouse was pouring lattes and craft beers. Turns out that Dylan went on to study at NYU, which is where he developed a passion for brewing. He did an internship for some time at a Brooklyn bourbon distillery and has a passion for mead in particular. He is now running his own brewery, which he added into the William Vale Hotel in Williamsburg, called the All Wise Meadery. During an interview with Vanity Fair in 2018, he refers to acting as a commission type job and says that the meadery provides a stable paycheck. He also admitted that he often gets compared to his brother Cole Sprouse, who landed a lead role as Jughead in the hit TV series Riverdale. When asked about his brother's TV show, he said, "Don't tell my brother, but I've only seen the first episode. If I'm being honest, when I first saw Riverdale, I had no idea which twin it was, so he could totally just pretend it was him and take the credit for it." In spot number 7 is Edward Furlong. He's best known for his role as John Connor in the 1991 Terminator 2 Judgment Day. He was starring alongside two huge stars, Arnold Schwarzenegger and Linda Hamilton. The role made him incredibly successful, which would make you think he was on to bigger and better things from there on out. However, only 3 years after the successful movie, one director claimed the young actor was, and I quote, "clearly on a path to disaster." Unfortunately, his prediction happened to be true. It seems like the young actor couldn't handle the pressures of being in the business, so he turned to drinking and drugs, racking up multiple arrests over the years. He had arrests for possession, and stealing lobsters from a supermarket. During an interview with People in 2006, he simply said, "Hollywood f***ed me up, man." Later in the interview, he said he had turned his life around, but that didn't seem to be the case. After that, he had more than one arrest regarding domestic turmoils. We haven't seen him in anything in years, and to be honest, we probably wouldn't even recognize him. At number 6 is Phoebe Cates. Back in the 80s, she was one of the biggest names in Hollywood, which is why it was hard to understand why she just kind of fizzled out of the spotlight. She made her first big debut in the movie Paradise and continued to have success in movies which had her fans believing she was here to stay. You may remember her from the later movies she did, like The Anniversary Party or Gremlins. In 1989, she got married to Kevin Kline, a very successful actor who we saw as Maurice in the 2017 Beauty and the Beast live action movie. Kline opened up saying that when they decided to start a family, they didn't want work to take away from their time with the children. He told Playboy, and I quote, "We have agreed to alternate so that we're never working at the same time. But whenever it's been her slot to work, Phoebe has chosen to stay with the children. It seems like she quietly just kind of left the industry and retired from acting just to be a mom. She's done acting, but she still spends a lot of time doing charity work. Her son has type 1 diabetes, so she devotes her time towards raising funds for a cure. She also started her own boutique in 2005 called Blue Tree. She says, I quote, "I always wanted to have a general store. If I could have a photo booth and sold candy, I would have. Hey, the heart wants what it wants, and I guess hers just doesn't want acting anymore." Halfway through the list at number 5 is Randy Quaid. Yes, Dennis Quaid has a brother, and they look nothing alike, so don't feel bad if you didn't put the connection together. Dennis has had a very successful acting career where he spent years being called a Hollywood heartthrob. However, Randy has had a successful career also, with 119 acting credits to his name on IMDb, but he took on different roles than his brother did due to the difference in their looks. In 2009, his problems began when he and his wife were arrested for fraud by using an invalid credit card at an inn. They were released on bail but then failed to appear in court, and that's when warrants for their arrest were issued. Eventually, the two of them appeared in court, but the charges against the actor were dropped due to lack of evidence. Lucky him. Only 1 year later, the two of them were charged again, but this time for burglary after they spent 5 days staying in the guest house in a home they once owned. Once again, they failed to appear in court and warrants for their arrest were issued again. Turns out they moved to Canada, but they ended up getting arrested for their outstanding warrants. Taking the number 4 spot is Mara Wilson, aka Matilda. She was one of the most well-known and beloved child stars of the 90s, appearing in the movies Miss Doubtfire and then Matilda. But after she rose to fame, she disappeared from the spotlight in the blink of an eye. Years down the road, in 2016, she explains why she quit Hollywood in a memoir she wrote called Where Am I Now? True Stories of Girlhood and Accidental Fame. She explains that she didn't fit the look that Hollywood wanted as she got older. She said, "I wasn't getting any parts. I realized I don't fit their idea of what a Hollywood actress looks like. There's no room for me here. It's hard to come out of that sane and without some serious doubts about yourself." That's when she began to immerse herself in school, theater, and writing. After she graduated college, she admits in her book that she's never felt better. She writes, "Things have gotten a lot better since I left Hollywood. A great weight lifted." Now she lives in New York, where she's become a part of the comedy and writing scene. She happily lives in Queens with her 2 cats and says that yes, she still gets recognized as Matilda. But that is no surprise because she literally looks the exact same. Alright guys, at number 3 is Frankie Muniz, who you might know as Malcolm from the classic TV series Malcolm in the Middle. The show ran from 2000 to 2006 and is basically what put him on the map in the acting world. He also did other movies like Big Fat Liar, Agent Cody Banks, and Sharknado. Needless to say, he had a wildly successful career. His acting resume is stacked with a number of different credits, which is why I was so stunned when I found out that he walked away from Hollywood and is now running an olive oil shop. Yes, that is a thing. Turns out acting is no longer his main focus anymore, although you will see him popping up in some projects once in a while. After he left his full-time acting career, he and his fiancée Paige Price now own an olive oil shop called Outrageous Olive Oils and Vinegars in Old Town Scottsdale. If you go, you will actually spot him sitting behind the register. The now 32-year-old says, "We had been customers at the store before and we just knew we liked the product and we wanted to do something together. Now it's become our lives." The former actor, who was once practically drowning in fame, money, and success, says that he's found a new passion: payroll. He said, "I love doing payroll. I love doing anything with the financials. I'm a numbers guy, so this has been like a dream come true for me." Amen. To each their own. At number 2 is Orlando Brown, the Disney star most known for his role on That's So Raven. After That's So Raven, he went on to other acting projects and also got into the music industry. But over the past few years, Brown has disappeared from Hollywood and has found trouble with the law instead, getting arrested for multiple different things. He was arrested for burglary, which was actually caught on tape, rookie mistake, so he couldn't even get away with it. TMZ posted a video of him moments leading up to the burglary where he takes a cloth to cover up the camera, but he didn't even wear a mask to do so. He is literally the worst criminal ever. He was arrested again in September 2018 for another burglary charge in Las Vegas. He remained in jail on $13,000 bail, which includes bail from his previous arrest charges for possession and resisting a public officer and domestic battery. In his latest mugshot, he showed off a new tattoo on his chest, the face of Raven Simone, his co-star from the show. He also had a huge smile on his face, so it looks like he's not too upset by things. I think it is safe to say we won't be seeing him on our TV screens anytime soon. Taking our number 1 spot is Daniel Day-Lewis. People were shocked in 2017 when he basically just quit acting and retired from acting altogether. Some didn't believe that he would actually be done, but we haven't seen him in anything ever since, so I think it's time that we better start coping with this. It was announced publicly in June of 2017 saying, "Daniel Day-Lewis will no longer be working as an actor. He is immensely grateful to all of his collaborators and audiences over the many years. This is a private decision and neither he nor his representatives will make any further comment on the subject." The actor later did an interview with Variety where he opened up about his choice to retire, and he was told that people don't think he's really done with acting or Hollywood. His response to that was, "I didn't want to get sucked back into another project. All my life I have mouthed off about how I should stop acting, and I don't know why it was different this time, but the impulse to quit took root in me and that became a compulsion. It was something I had to do." It's hard to say what exactly he's up to these days because all we get is a few random pictures from the paparazzi of him just walking around. Moving along to the next spot, at number 9 is Terrence Howard. The American actor has starred in numerous films and TV shows, but you'll probably recognize him most ghost from the movie Iron Man or the TV series Empire. Once Terrence finished his role in the 5-year running show Empire, he vowed that he would never act again. He said that quitting acting meant that he didn't need to pretend anymore, and even though his future plans were unknown, he knew he wanted to focus on bringing truth to the world. Terrence would later go on more in depth of the truth of his retirement, where he says that he spent 37 years in the industry pretending to be people that he isn't. He began making discoveries of his personal life and goals, and he believes that he would rather be teaching the truth rather than fictional. A little vague of an explanation, but whatever makes him happy. I'm still not understanding the truth part. Like, let us know the truth rather than saying I want to speak the truth, you know? Moving on to number 8 is Rick Moranis. The Canadian actor may not ring a bell until you hear that he was the main character in the childhood classic Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. Legendary movie. I loved that movie. That was so fun. His acting career was filled mostly by 80s comedy movies, as he starred in Ghostbusters, The Flintstones, and Parenthood. Having a successful career in the industry and well-known movies under his name, he would suddenly just disappear from the acting scene, and no one really knew why at the time. The sudden retirement was sadly due to the death of his wife, who passed away from cancer. Because of this, Rick would completely shift his time to dedicate himself to raising his 2 children, and he became a stay-at-home dad. The hiatus was only supposed to be a break, but eventually the break led to him not working on any movies ever since then. The former actor confesses that he does miss the people and nature of the film industry, as parenting is just a very different lifestyle, but he made it clear that he has no regrets about his career decisions. Moving on to the next celebrity on this list, at number 7 we have Karen Parsons. The retired actress is most known for her beloved character on the culture-defining show Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. After the show ended in 1996, it would have been likely that fans would follow Karen to her other acting endeavors, but she seemingly wasn't able to find success in any other roles. After constant devastation and little to show for it, she grew very frustrated and eventually would lose her passion for acting, making her just move on to other things. She started working for a non-profit foundation called The Sweet Blackberry, which is a charity that is determined to teach children about Black history heroes through films. In 2019, she also released a children's novel called How High the Moon, and then in 2020, another book called Flying Free. Moving on to the next spot at number 6 is Peter Ostrom. You might not know Peter just by his name, but you'll definitely know him from his iconic role in the 1971 Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, as he played the main character, Charlie. After filming finished, the child star would be offered a 3-movie part deal, but Peter did not sign the contract. Peter's role in Willy Wonka would be his first and his last, as he would decide to quit his acting career right before it took off at the age of 12. The quick decision would be made simply because he just fell in love with a different profession, I guess, or passion at the time, since he was 12. The former child star enjoyed watching veterinarians at work on the animals that his family had, and because of this experience, it single-handedly changed his future as he became a veterinarian himself. Giving up the spotlight to become a veterinarian may seem like an odd decision, but acting was just not his passion, he says, and he found that career passion with being a veterinarian. Damn, he really chose horses over Willy Wonka movies. Taking the halfway spot at number 5 is Angus T. Jones. You may not recognize the name because, I wouldn't, but you definitely know him as the kid from the sitcom 2.5 Men. He played in the show from 2003 all the way to 2013, and it seemed like we watched him basically grow up, as he started the show at just 9 years old, and when he left the show he was 19. At one point in 2010, he was the highest paid child star in television, so it may come as a shock to you when he left just a few years later. The real reason that the young star left the show in Hollywood in general was because he became very dedicated to his faith and actually started slamming the TV show for how vulgar it was. He was in a moral conflict by being on the show because he just didn't feel that it followed his religion. So he eventually called it quits because of his religious beliefs and became a more normal young adult by attending college. The former actor would go on to study environmental studies, but would later transfer his major to Jewish studies. Now, the former child star is living in LA and is working as president of an event entertainment company. Taking the countdown by storm, at number 4 is held by the child star Mara Wilson. You probably know her for her role in Matilda or Miss Doubtfire, but have you ever wondered where the promising young actress went? I always wondered, until I started this job and I found out. Well, she played numerous characters as a child star, and instead of continuing her acting career, she backed away from the industry at the young age of 13. Moving on to the future, in 2016, she became a writer and released an autobiography depicting her accidental fame, as she called it. The book highlighted the now retired actress and her struggle with growing older and feeling as if her appearance didn't fit the Hollywood standard. Furthermore, in her book, she states that at 13, she was faced with a decision to get cosmetic surgery, audition for cute and funny friend characters, or just accept herself and give up her acting career for good. And well, we all know what decision she made because I already said it. Now she's a full-time writer and director and has chosen a whole new life for herself. Moving on to one of the top 3 spots, at number 3 is Jack Gleeson. The former actor has only been part of a handful of roles, but one of them includes the fan favorite TV series Game of Thrones. Jack played one of the main characters in the series from 2011 to 2014, but hasn't played in anything since. Due to the success of the show, Jack had the opportunity of acting for a living full-time, but decided against it for very understandable reasons. In a statement made in an interview, Jack said that he stopped because he wasn't enjoying it as much as he used to. He mentioned that acting used to be something he did for fun with his friends or sometimes in the summer. It was once something that he very much enjoyed, but when you make a living from something, it kind of just changes your relationship with it sometimes. So once his time on Game of Thrones came to an end, he felt some sort of relief and just decided that his acting career would come to an end altogether. After his retirement, he went on to study philosophy in Dublin. Coming in our second place, we have Daniel Day-Lewis. The talented British actor has won 3 Oscars, all for Best Actor, 4 BAFTA awards, and has even been knighted by Queen Elizabeth II. But his acting days in Hollywood are over after his representative released a statement in 2017 stating that Daniel will no longer be working as an actor, adding that it was a private decision and that he will not be making any further comments on the subject. This statement was released after receiving his 3rd and final Oscar for his role in Phantom Thread. So it came as a surprise, because he just won. After being silent on the matter for quite some time, Daniel would later confess in an interview that quitting acting was something he had to do. This was due to overwhelming amount of sadness he faced while working on the film Phantom Thread. He even acknowledged that before making the film, he had no intention of quitting, so it's basically the movie's fault. Daniel also mentioned that he still can't quite figure out exactly what triggered him to quit for good after that movie, but said that he just needed to start to believe in the responsibility and values of what it means to be an actor. Now, being retired for a few years, he feels a different type of sadness, but in a good nostalgic way, he says, when looking back at his acting days. He could come back at any moment, really, right? You can leave and come back. Making our way to number 1 is Janet McCurdy. Former child star, played a leading role in Nickelodeon show iCarly and would move on to co-star on Sam and Cat alongside Ariana Grande. That being said, her acting career would not go further beyond Nickelodeon, and it came to an end in 2014. Though it was short-lived, she had a very successful career in Hollywood, but confessed that she resented it. This resentment was due to many factors. Firstly, it was because she started acting at 6 years old, which she was put into acting by her mom, and by 10 she was the main financial support of her family. She never wanted to be in the industry, but forced herself to continue because she felt pressured to do so for the well-being of her family. The former actress grew extremely unhappy, especially when she was at the peak of her career. When she initially made the decision to call it quits, her agents and managers said that she would be crazy to leave during such a high part in her career, but she stuck to her word and she hasn't looked back since. With the 2021 reboot of her show iCarly, she still would not get involved, which fans were genuinely surprised by. But thankfully, after announcing her retirement, she went on to become a writer and director, giving her a lot more satisfaction in her career. Starting off our list at number 10 is Hulk Hogan, the legendary WWE fighter who is known worldwide for his muscle, fighting, and mustache. Hulk Hogan has a very successful career for many years through WWE, acting, reality shows, and hosting, but it more recently took a hit when his racist side came out to play. Back in 2015, he was fired from WWE WWE after tapes that were recorded in 2007 were posted on the internet and showed him ranting about his daughter sleeping with a black man and using the N-word to state his point of view. Oh, and to top it all off, the clips of him on his rant actually came from a leaked sex tape. He took heat for his remarks for years but was forgiven by WWE on July 15, 2018 when they reinstated him back into the wrestling entertainment industry. They state they will continue to monitor his behavior and hope they won't have to ban him again. Although WWE was forgiving, many people in and outside of Hollywood didn't agree with their decision, especially other African American wrestlers. Just 2 days ago, Hogan spoke on the Booker T's Hall of Fame podcast about everything that happened. He said that he's still concerned that people are going to continue to hold this incident against him and states that it is still affecting his career. He recently opened up for WrestleMania 35 and has seen some forgiveness in the WWE universe, but that is just one part of the industry. The other parts aren't so forgiving. Coming in at number 8, we have CeeLo Green, the singer that came out with that really fun hit Forget You and also appeared on The Voice and had a show called The Good Life. His career took his first big hit back in 2012 when he was accused of sexual battery and furnishing a controlled substance. Fans went berserk when they first heard the story, but luckily he wasn't charged for the battery because there was a lack of evidence. However, he was charged with 3-year probation for the use of drugs. Once he cleared his name from the battery charge, his career got somewhat back to normal. But in 2014, he was accused of giving to some females and he responded to the stories with some very inappropriate tweets. His one tweet said, and I quote, "People who have really been remember, if someone is passed out, they're not even with you consciously. So with implies consent." Immediately after the tweets were sent out, he was blacklisted from Hollywood. CBS cancelled his show The Good Life and concerts dropped him left and right. He also had to leave his role as a judge on The Voice. Since then, he has still continued to make music, but he's no longer in the limelight ever since he spoke with no class at all on such a sensitive subject. At number 7, we have Abby Lee Miller, known for being the very strict dance teacher on the hit TV show Dance Moms. She built her own dance studio in Pittsburgh and created a reality-type TV show called Dance Moms, which turned into a world sensation. The show blew up and even expanded into Los Angeles, where they continued filming at a new studio there. One of the world's biggest dancers, Maddie Ziegler, was one of Abby's dancers on the show since she was a kid. However, out of nowhere during filming, we saw that rumors had started that she was in trouble with the law. Turns out they weren't just rumors, and Abby was arrested for fraud. She was found to be hiding $775,000 that was income from the show. She was sentenced to 1 year in prison, which she was able to get down to 8 months. After she completed her sentence, she was given 2 years probation and can only live in areas approved by her probation officer. Sadly, once out of jail, she was diagnosed with cancer in April 2018 and has faced 10 rounds of chemo and 2 major spine surgeries. Abby is currently paralyzed and is learning how to walk all over again. She recently announced that she's filming another season of her show called Dance Moms Resurrection, where she will share her cancer battle with the audience. Even if Hollywood can't do business with her after her legal issues, Dance Mom fans are excited to see her back on her show. Alright guys, at number 4 we have Josh Duggar, a real life man who turned into celebrity status by having his family on the TLC show 19 Kids and Counting, which makes the situation even more horrifying because news came out that Josh had sexually assaulted multiple women when he was younger, including 4 of his own sisters. After the stories broke the news and it was confirmed to be true by his own parents, the show was quickly cancelled from TLC. A spin-off of the show was eventually made, which didn't include Josh in it, obviously. Since then, he has continued to make headlines, all of them being bad. Turns out he cheated on his wife with women off dating sites Ashley Madison and OkCupid. Not only does he have a lot of explaining to do to Hollywood, but he also has 19 kids who are going to, if not have already, are questioning his decisions. Here we are at number 3 with Jeffrey Jones, the actor you might recognize from the iconic movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He played the Dean Edward R. Rooney in the movie and is also known for his role in Beetlejuice. His career quickly ended back in 2002 when he was charged with as well as soliciting a 14-year-old boy to pose. He claimed that he was innocent, but the court didn't believe him and he was charged with 5 years probation and was also required to register as a offender. He didn't take the second part of his sentencing too seriously because he has since been arrested twice for not registering properly. Taking our number 1 spot is Ian Watkins, a musician who once had a promising career with his band Lost Prophets, which was founded in 1997. The band was able to release 5 studio albums before the singer was arrested. What could the singer have possibly done? Well, he was arrested on charges of attempted and sexual assault on children. The most shocking parts to fans and his other band members was that he pleaded guilty to it. While in court, he pleaded guilty to 3 different charges that were related to taking or possessing indecent photos of children and 1 image of extreme. Some of the disturbing text messages from the singer's phone were shown in court and they went viral on the internet. One stomach-churning text said, "If you belong to me, so does your baby." He was sentenced to 29 years in jail, and if you Google his name, all you will find is articles starting with the title singer. In our countdown, number 10 is Jonathan Bennett. It's been 15 years since he graced our screens as hottie Aaron Samuels in Mean Girls. There is no doubt about it that part of the reason we're obsessed with the movie is because of the unrealistic crush we had on him. I literally thought I was gonna date him. The movie brought in over $100 million at the box office, and people are still quoting it all these years later. After finding success from the 2004 movie, he continued to act, but we kinda saw him just fade away from the Hollywood spotlight. And that is because for a while he chose to focus on other parts of his life outside of the limelight. He got into health and fitness and became a spin instructor at Flywheel Los Angeles in West Hollywood. A few years later, he released his own cookbook, which was actually inspired by Mean Girls, and he titled it The Burn Cookbook. The design even looks like the Burn book from the movie. Talk about a genius marketing plan. In the book, he references quotes from the movie and also put in a toaster doodle recipe inspired by Gretchen Wiener's family. Luckily for us gals, we do see his face popping up here and there on some TV shows and in Ariana Grande's music video. He's found a good balance of a normal life while still pursuing acting to some degree, just not like the Aaron Samuels way. Coming in number 8 is Randy Quaid, one of the Quaid brothers, but probably not the one you are thinking of. His brother Dennis Quaid was actually married to Meg Ryan at one point, so many people think of him first when they think of the brothers. But Randy is still a Golden Globe winner and an Oscar nominee who was once a huge actor in Hollywood, but his last credit was in 2009, and since then he's been living a regular life. Well, that's a lie. He's actually spent all of these years running from the US law enforcement. It started back in September 2009 when he and his wife were both arrested in Texas for leaving an outstanding tab of $10,000 at a California hotel. I don't even know how you get $10,000 tab at a hotel. A year later, they were arrested again for sneaking in and living out of a guest home that they owned years ago but no longer had possession. Court dates and arrests were both set, but they ran off to Canada and hid for years until they were found in 2016. They ended up getting arrested in Vermont while trying to cross the border. He claimed that they had been hiding from a group called Hollywood Star Whackers, which apparently is a dangerous group that engineers the deaths of Hollywood celebrities to somehow embezzle their royalties and life insurance. So yeah, he chose to live a regular life, but clearly just went down a dark path and began living the regular life of a criminal. In spot number 7 is Lindsay Lohan. The actress was tired of being judged, so she left. But she didn't just leave Hollywood, she left America. After a whole bunch of chaos in the media for her time in jail, she decided to move to London to find some peace and quiet. She disappeared from our screens, and we later found out that she had moved from London to Dubai to live on the beaches of Mykonos. There was a method to her plan though. She picked Dubai because paparazzi is actually illegal there, so she knew that it was a place to go where she could have some privacy. She told the New York Times that she loves living there and said, "It's less demanding. I don't have to turn on the news and see about the Kardashians. I don't have to see about anything anymore. I choose what I want to see and how I want to live." She's been spending her free time traveling, but she also opened her own beach club on a Mykonos beach, so she's busy running her own business now. Fans were thrilled to see her make a return to MTV with her own reality show called Lindsay Lohan's Beach Club. We see her working as a CEO trying to hire people to work at her new beach club. I shamelessly watched it, and I gotta admit, it was pretty cool to see her in a different light like that. Plus, she looks really happy. That makes me happy. Alright, in the number 6 spot is Kirk Cameron. He was a teen phenom while he played Mike Seaver on the ABC sitcom Growing Pains. The show ran from 1985 to 1992 and set him up for a pretty successful career after that. He was acting for many years before he decided to step away from Hollywood and focus on his religious beliefs. Nowadays, he is an evangelical Christian who is focusing on faith-based projects, some of which have caused a lot of controversy. He landed himself in some heat back in 2012 after doing an interview with Piers Morgan and spoke up against same-sex marriage. He has found some success in his projects though. He actually promoted the film Fireproof, which incorporated teaching kits on marriage and marketed it to churches. It earned $33 million at the box office, which is huge, seeing as his budget was barely anything. From there, he has continued to use his Christian beliefs in his projects. Some have found success, while others have flopped. During an interview with The Hollywood Reporter, he was asked if he misses the days he spent in Hollywood, and he replied with, "I can never forget them. While I don't miss those days, I absolutely love that I have that history with my fans." Here we are at number 4 with Chris Owen. You'd probably know him better as Chuck Sherman, aka the Shermanator. Back in 1999, he made a name for himself for playing the part in the hit comedy American Pie. He ended up reprising the role for all of the films and even landed it in the spin-off American Pie Presents Band Camp. But he did have other success outside of the franchise and landed roles in shows like Seventh Heaven and The Mentalist. However, his career ended up fading out and he was off the Hollywood radar for a number of years. In 2014, New York Daily News reported that he was working as a waiter in a sushi restaurant in California. Turns out he went on to live a regular life and work what people would call a basic job just compared to his Hollywood life. They contacted him for an interview and he spoke on it saying, "Life doesn't always go the way you planned. I love acting and this job lets me stay in the fight." He admitted that he still tries to book acting roles, but he's also content with living a regular life. The good news is the article helped him book 2 small film roles after it was published. So, it's a win. In the 3rd spot is Nikki Blonsky, mainly known for her role as Tracy Turnblad in the musical movie Hairspray, starring alongside Zac Efron and John Travolta. The movie came out back in 2007, which marked her first on-screen acting role and a big one at that. After that, you might have watched her in the short-lived ABC Family series called Huge. Since then, she booked smaller roles here and there, but it wouldn't be enough to support someone as a full-time income, which is why she had to take a step back and live a more ordinary life. In 2011, the actress did an interview with E! And said that she worked at a shoe store in New York City and was later hired as a cosmetologist at a hair salon. She went on to get her cosmetology license and she began working part-time as a hairstylist and makeup artist in between acting auditions. Now, she's a little different than the other ones on our list because she didn't choose to live a normal life, it was actually her only choice. She did an interview in 2017 and said, "I did not take a conscious step out of Hollywood, and so long as I'm alive, I never will. Singing and acting has been my dream since I was 3. It kind of feels like the industry left me." Honestly, that makes me sad. Kinda breaks my heart a little bit. I hope she comes back. Filling in our number 2 spot is Macaulay Culkin. Pretty much every kid in the world knows him as Kevin McAllister or just the kid from Home Alone. He's mainly known for winning over our hearts throughout the movie series, but he also appeared in 8 other feature films between the years 1990 to 1994. So he was a huge child star at the time, to say the least. Many would predict that his acting career was solid from that point on. But then, which felt like out of nowhere, he quit acting and disappeared from Hollywood altogether. Turns out he wanted to live a normal life and he ended up moving to Paris. Yes, Paris. He revealed that he spends most of his time writing, painting, and working on a podcast called Bunny Ears with his friend Matt Cohen. After going MIA for many years, he has now made his way back into the limelight to share his story, but he doesn't really care for the fame part of it. He's actually thrilled when people don't recognize him or bring up the Home Alone movies. During an interview with The Blast, he said, "I was going to Paris for a little while and I thought people didn't recognize me, but it was like, no, we recognize you, we just don't care." And I was like, where have you been all my life? Taking the number 1 spot on today's list is Justin Bieber. At one point in time, he was the one celebrity we saw all over the media. Becoming one of the biggest pop stars at such a young age ended with him wanting a more normal life. The singer is originally from a small town called Stratford, Ontario here in Canada, which is only a few hours away from us, by the way, which is really cool. But a few years ago, we could tell that the fame seemed to be getting to him. It all started when he announced that he was no longer going to be taking pictures with fans out in public. His music career took a long break and he slowly started disappearing from the charts. After being engaged to his now wife, Hailey Baldwin, it was announced that he wanted to move from LA and permanently live in Canada, away from the limelight and paparazzi. One of his friends spoke about it to Us Weekly and said, "He needs to get out of the LA and New York City scene. It's overwhelming for him. He's trying to climatize what a normal life should look like. He feels most at peace at home." He's been living a quiet life here in Canada since 2018 and recently revealed that new music will be coming in 2020. He has been open about his struggle with anxiety and depression, and living a regular life has given him some time to heal. So maybe this will be his big comeback. but I feel like his life will never really be truly regular. It's just a more regular than like what he's used to. Fun fact though, he was at that Tim Hortons here in Canada with Haley. Starting off our list at number 10 is Roseanne Barr. The actress and comedian is known for her work, but also known for being a supporter of Donald Trump being president. Other Trump fans will back her up, but she has been one of Hollywood's most controversial figures who went one step too far back in May 2018 when she sent out some racist tweets. Her tweets were about Valerie Jarrett, a senior advisor to the former president Barack Obama. In her tweet, she compared Valerie to a cross between the Muslim Brotherhood and the movie Planet of the Apes. After seeing the backlash she received for the racist tweet, it was immediately deleted and she issued an apology. However, it was already way too late for that, and she was just trying to save her career. ABC canceled her show called Roseanne, which was supposed to reboot the same day. ABC's president called Roseanne's tweets, and I quote, abhorrent, repugnant, and inconsistent with our values. Since then, as of January of this year, 2019, her Twitter was off limits and she moved into her mother's basement in order to get out of LA. She said she has a fear that everyone hates her and she blames ABC for ruining her life rather than having her back. Apparently her tweet was just a joke. She's a comedian, but Hollywood's blacklist isn't seeing it the same way. At number 9 is Martin Lawrence. The comedian hasn't been completely blacklisted from all of Hollywood, but he has been banned from one of the most popular comedy shows on television, SNL. You can imagine what kind of damage that would do to a comedian's career, and you can also imagine what he had to have done to be completely banned from the show. Apparently back in 1994 when he hosted SNL, he decided to go a little bit off topic in his opening monologue. We don't know what he originally had planned, but we are all still hoping it wasn't what actually came out of his mouth. In his monologue, he went on a rant making disgusting remarks about the importance of female hygiene. I can't go into too much detail with this one, but let's just say he went as far as bringing up the term douching. His hosting gig was so brutal that the comedian was banned for life, and he still remains at the top of their blacklist. Swiping the number 8 spot on our list is Katherine Heigl. It's been 11 years since the actress's career crumbled, or as she described it, her career betrayed her. In 2008, her career was at its peak, starring in rom-coms like 27 Dresses, which proved she was a very bankable movie star. But at the time, she was also making headlines for her work on the hit TV series Grey's Anatomy, where she took on the role of Dr. Stevens for 5 years. She was described in the media as being difficult because she made statements saying she was withdrawing herself from the 2008 Emmy Awards since she didn't consider the show worthy. In her statement, she said that the Grey's Anatomy material that Shonda Rhimes had given her wasn't enough, I quote, to warrant an Emmy nomination. She got a lot of backlash for her comments and found herself on the blacklist. She stopped booking major roles for years to come, but luckily has found herself as a working actress again, even if they aren't like the big movies that she was once making. Many companies in the industry will no longer work with her, and she tried to defend herself almost a decade later. Back in 2016, she went on the Howard Stern show to discuss what actually happened and explain that she didn't feel good about her own performance and didn't mean for it to come out as an attack on the show. Reports were made that she wanted out of the contract on multiple occasions, and she ended up leaving the show in 2010 due to her feelings being hurt. Taking over our number 7 spot is Kirk Cameron. The actor got introduced into Hollywood at a very young age. He was known to be a child star, appearing in many different TV shows and films at the time. He is mostly known for his role in the sitcom Growing Pains, which he starred in for 7 seasons, but also starred in movies like Listen to Me and Like Father Like Son. However, his personal life began to affect his career because of his religious Christian views. He speaks all day long about his beliefs towards religion, homosexuals, culture, and more, which has landed him on Hollywood's blacklist. His religious views erupted everywhere from Twitter to his CNN interview with Piers Morgan, where he spoke about homosexuality, saying that it was unnatural and destructive. His comments have kept him from Prime TV, and his personal documentary called Unstoppable was banned from both Facebook and YouTube, and we haven't seen him in anything for years. And at number 6 is Monique. The actress and comedian first gained popularity for her stand-up shows and for playing Nikki Parker in the UPN series The Parkers, which ran from 1999 to 2004. However, her biggest break came in 2009 when she played the mother in Lee Daniels' film Precious. She earned tons of critical praise and even an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress. After her big win, her resume has slumped, and she says it is because of how she handled the 2010 Oscar campaign for the movie Precious. She said that the director called her saying that Hollywood blackballed her because she didn't play the game. He confirmed this in an interview by saying, I quote, "Her demands through Precious were not always in line with the campaign. This soured her relationship with the Hollywood community. The actress said she was blacklisted by powerful people because she didn't want to campaign for the movie without receiving additional pay. Fast forward to 2018, Monique stirred the pot by urging her fans to boycott Netflix for gender and racial bias, saying that they offered her a low-balling $500,000 for a comedy special, which is significantly less than the millions that Amy Schumer and other male comedians made, such as Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle. Honestly, at this point, we're all kind of just waiting to see whose list she ends up on next. Halfway through at number 5 is Natalie Maines, also known as 1/3 of the Dixie Chicks band. The musician took her political views a bit too far when she decided to bash the President of the United States at the time, President Bush. While performing a concert in London, she went on a rant about his plans for the war in Iraq, which caused an outburst of rage and a ton of backlash on her career. Following her concert rant, country stations across the US decided to pull their songs from their playlists after calls from listeners came in and said that their political views weren't patriotic. Not only did they pull songs, but they also banned future songs from playing on their stations. Other country artists even got involved, like Reba McEntire and Toby Keith, who spoke out against the band. Keith and Natalie actually publicly bashed each other and their music to the media. This completely ended their careers, and they began to receive death threats and other threats of physical harm. In 2016, Natalie admits that them making a return to mainstream country music is highly unlikely. She said, I quote, "I feel like we are all tainted. I don't know if we put a tour up if people would come. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like all that backlash was just a little unnecessary. I mean, everyone has their opinions about the president no matter who it is." Here we are at number 4 with Brendan Fraser. He is best known for his roles in Bedazzled and The Mummy. He was once a very popular actor that many fans adored, but during the 2000s his career started to fade out and a lot of people were wondering why. Just last year, Brendan opened up to GQ for an exclusive interview talking about what has happened over all of his absent years. He opened up about depression after his mother's death, which led to an unhealthy lifestyle and weight gain. It wasn't until this interview that he opened up about a sexual incident he faced with the former HFPA president Philip Burke back in 2003. He said he held it in for all of these years but felt inspired by the current Me Too movement that is going on right now. Brendan said that the HFPA has never invited him back to the Golden Globes ever since the incident surfaced. He also says no major productions are willing to hire him either. He has no problem admitting that he has found himself blacklisted in Hollywood, but also wants to voice that the reasoning is incredibly wrong and unfair. He is still booking whatever roles he can, like some episodes on the TV series The Professionals and Doom Patrol. Alright guys, at number 3 is Stacey Dash. The actress and talk show host rose to fame after her role in Clueless and on the Fox News show Outnumbered. Nowadays she is mostly known for her very controversial views. Go figure. Back in 2008, the actress openly voted for Barack Obama for president, but then somehow made a big shift in her views between 2008 to 2012. Which is fine, everyone has the right to their political views, but she just went a little too far when she started calling for an end to Black History Month. In her statement to get rid of Black History Month, she explained why, saying, and I quote, "We're Americans, period. That's it." People were completely outraged, mainly because this comment was followed by many other outrageous and offensive comments from the actress, like speaking on the topic of transgendered people. She ended up getting fired from Fox News and since then has not been able to book any big roles because she just can't seem to keep her opinions to herself. At number 2 is Isaiah Washington, the actor who is known for his role on the famous TV show Grey's Anatomy. He found himself on Hollywood's blacklist after he made some homophobic comments at the 2007 Golden Globe Awards. This is what made his career come crashing down because he was already on thin ice for insulting his co-star TR Knight with homophobic language just a year earlier. Clearly a lesson not learned. After the incident at the Golden Globes, he was put in executive counseling, but not too long into it, Grey's Anatomy decided that he was going to be fired and his contract would not be renewed. After being fired, the actor was asked about it and his response was, I quote, "After the incident at the Golden Globes, everything just fell apart. I lost everything. I couldn't afford to have an agent, I couldn't afford to have a publicist, I couldn't afford to continue." The former television star has found a way to continue on by starring in B-list movies and any projects that he can still get his hands on. Taking the number 1 spot on our list is Mel Gibson, because how could he not be? There was a time when Mel Gibson's career was in its prime when he starred in the Lethal Weapon franchise and Braveheart, but it seems like his time in big movies like those have come to an end. He is a solid example that one wrong move can take a person down, although he has had a few wrong moves. They all started back in 2006 when Gibson was arrested for DUI in Malibu, California. The actor at the time said, I quote, "I was loaded and angry and arrested. I guess I'm not allowed to have a nervous breakdown ever." Oh come on Mel, that's not true. We let you have another one in 2010. Who could forget his horrific fall from grace in 2010 when a series of taped phone conversations between him and his then girlfriend were released. You could hear the actor verbally attacking her with profanity, threats, and racial slurs. For example, he called her an effing pig in heat and told her that he hopes she gets. When doing interviews about the phone meltdown, he had no problem continuing to offend people based on race, sexual orientation, gender, and immigration status. Hollywood began to lose respect for the actor, and so did his fans. He has continued to book some smaller films, and he even finances and produces his own movies, but it's been a long time since we've seen him star in a big Hollywood hit. Don't get me wrong, he's probably incredibly well off at this point, but it would have been nice to end things with Hollywood on better terms. Starting off our list at number 10 is Eddie Murphy. Yes, the hilarious comedic actor has found himself in some situations that aren't so funny. If you don't know about the story that broke the news, it was Eddie Murphy being arrested in a prostitution scandal. The arrest happened back in 1997, and don't think for a second that Hollywood has forgotten about it. On May 2nd of 1997, the police pulled over Murphy's car at 4:45 after they observed that a well-known transsexual got inside. Murphy claims that he saw a person was having some trouble and pulled over to ask if they were alright. That's when the asked him for a ride and he agreed. Murphy went on the record and said, "I did nothing wrong. I was trying to be a good Samaritan and this is what happens." The was arrested, but no charges were placed on the actor. Good news is some people believed his side of the story and he still went on to book some good acting roles. However, the story resurfaced in 2015 because only 1 year after Murphy had picked her up, she was dead in a very mysterious circumstance. The case was opened up again all these years later, which brought up Murphy's little run-in with her. The Lip TV posted a video about journalist Mark Ebner talking about Eddie and all his past with different. He also shares that he met with one of the who's been with Eddie and claims that Eddie's lawyer, Marty Singer, paid her $50,000 to change her story in the tabloids. She even had the check and records to prove it. So Eddie's reputation in Hollywood is no longer a very good one. He has booked some acting work, but nothing that puts him in the Hollywood spotlight like he used to be. At number 9 we have Paris Hilton, if you can even call her an actor. She was the big talk of the town and held a household name for her stupid saying, "That's hot." She had the title of best-selling author at one point in time and was a highly paid actress, model, DJ, and brand ambassador. But we don't quite hear about her anymore, do we? Here's a few reasons why she does not book any more of her acting roles. Well, number 1, she kinda sucked as an actor, if you're just going off of my opinion, but a big reason which caused a lot of controversy for the actress was her 2004 sex tape that went viral called One Night in Paris. Paris claims the sex tape was actually put out by her ex-boyfriend and was never meant to be seen by anyone. She says that it has completely ruined her life and is something she will have to explain to her kids one day. She also said that it gave her the title of a slut, which is why she only really booked roles like the girlfriend in House of Wax who gives in one of her scenes and then dies half naked in the other. Another reason her career has been affected is because of her political views and being closely tied to President Donald Trump. She has known Trump since childhood, and Trump even took it as far as speaking about her sex tape, saying that him and his wife Melania watched it together. There's a disturbing image none of us need in our minds. And to top it all off, in 2012, a recording of Paris talking in a taxi cab was leaked and it exposed her saying homophobic comments. On the recording you can hear Paris say, "Most gay men probably have AIDS. Gay guys are the people in the world. They're disgusting. I would be so scared if I was a gay guy. You'd like die of AIDS." When the scandal went public, you can imagine what it did to her career and also her reputation as a decent human being. Sliding into spot number 8 is Isaiah Washington, the actor who is known for his role on the famous TV show Grey's Anatomy. He found himself on Hollywood's blacklist after he made some homophobic comments at the 2007 Golden Globe Awards. This is what had his career come crashing down because he was already on thin ice for insulting his co-star T.R. Knight with homophobic language just a year earlier. After the incident at the Golden Globes, he was put in executive counseling, but not too long into it did Grey's Anatomy decide that he was going to be fired and his contract would not be renewed. After being fired, the actor was asked about it and he said, and I quote, "After the incident at the Golden Globes, everything just fell apart. I lost everything. I couldn't afford to have an agent, I couldn't afford to have a publicist, I couldn't afford to continue." The former television star has found a way to continue on by starring in B-list movies and any projects that he can still get his hands on. In at number 7, we have Katie Holmes, the actress who is also known as Tom Cruise's ex-wife. The actress was once in the prime of her career, booking roles in a variety of different movies. It wasn't until she began dating and then later married actor Tom Cruise that her career started to take some hits. Over the years, Cruise has faced tons of heat when it comes to his religious beliefs and his close link to Scientology. It's no coincidence that his ex-wife Nicole Kidman turned her back on him for his controversial religious beliefs as well. One of Katie's co-stars from Dawson's Creek, who remained close with Katie after all those years, says that her career had been blacklisted. They went on to tell an interviewer that her career began to take a downward spiral because Hollywood wants nothing to do with Scientology, which is believed to have skewed results of Oscar voting on more than one occasion. Some people have pointed out that no actor linked to Scientology ever wins an Oscar, like Tom Cruise himself and even John Travolta for his big role in Pulp Fiction. Not to mention, Nicole Kidman was nominated but never won an Oscar while married to Cruise, but after they divorced, she took an Oscar not too long after. Coincidence? I think not. Now that Katie is divorced from Cruise, she has returned to the Roman Catholic Church she used to go to, so maybe she has time to turn it all around if she wants to. Coming into spot number 6 is Thora Birch, an actress who many of us still watch in her movie Hocus Pocus every Halloween. She began acting as a child and turned into a star in the late 1990s and early 2000s. That's when her career really took off. She received amazing reviews for her performance in the Academy Award nominated film American Beauty, and she also received a Golden Globe nomination for her role in Ghost World. The star has found herself blacklisted from Hollywood because of her difficult behavior. During an interview, when asked about her career, she said, "I pissed off a lot of people over a long period of time and they found a way to upset me, hoping that upset would bring a change in my behavior, like a distancing, but I'm done." It didn't help that a story broke the news that her father, who was her manager for many years, physically threatened one of her co-stars. That's when she was fired from Dracula, the off-Broadway revival. She recently returned to acting a little bit here and there, but it is clear she will never go on to be the star many people thought she could be. Halfway through the list at number 5, we have Elijah Wood, obviously known for his role as Frodo in the Lord of the Rings movie series. But what happened to him after that? He continued his acting career but got on the wrong side of Hollywood executives when he told the media that the film industry was full of sexual that targeted young actors. Coming from one of the most accomplished actors of his time, the accusation was damaging on his career. He went on to say that he never experienced that kind of abuse himself, but said, and I quote, "If you're innocent, you have very little knowledge of the world and you want to succeed. People with parasitic interests will see you as their prey." I mean, he's not wrong. After the comments were made, his resume began to dwindle. He began booking voiceover work instead in family-friendly movies like Happy Feet, but began to move away from acting altogether. He started to progress a career as a DJ and even started his own label called Simeon Records. Swiping our number 4 spot is actress Tara Reid. Most of us girls will know her from her role in the movie Josie and the Pussycats, and most guys will know her from the American Pie movies. The actress was once very successful, finding her way to play the hottie in most of her movies. She did go on to land a role in the TV series Scrubs, which allowed her to show her talent outside of the comedic movies we always see her in. However, it wasn't long after she left the show in 2005 did she find herself caught up in hard partying, negative publicity, and awful plastic surgeries, which is a shame because she was naturally a very pretty girl. All these things have been enough for studios to have been turned off from casting her, and she now finds herself booking a lot of smaller roles in short films and other projects. Here we are at number 3 with Kirstie Alley. Towards the end of the 1980s, she was one of Hollywood's biggest stars. She received a ton of recognition and praise for her role as Rebecca Howe in the TV series Cheers, even winning a Primetime Emmy for her performance. She also won over the hearts of millions of American males with her stunning good looks. However, she struggled to remain relevant after Cheers came to an end, and some personal troubles led her to gain a significant amount of weight, to a point where she was barely recognized. It also didn't help that she was also closely linked linked to Scientology, which she sacrificed a lot of personal relationships for. As a result of joining the religion, reports say that many of Hollywood's executives avoided doing any business with her because they feared they would also be labeled in connection to Scientology. For years her career took a hit, and to most of us she kind of just fell off the face of the earth. A few years ago she began a Weight Watchers program and lost some weight, and even landed a smaller role in the TV show The Scream Queens. But that was in 2016, and she has nothing on her IMDb resume ever since then. Taking her #1 spot is Megan Fox. Director Michael Bay's first Transformer movie is what turned Megan Fox into an instant star. From then on, Men's Magazine couldn't get enough of her, and directors rushed to cast her in any upcoming action films and other projects. Let's face it, she was one of Hollywood's biggest hotties. When her feud with Michael Bay went viral and caused the majority of Hollywood to strike against her. The feud between the two of them was heavily documented, and the world was thrilled to watch it all go down. It was by 2009 when the Transformers Revenge of the Fallen came out, and that is when the tension really surfaced. It got so bad that Megan called the director a and told Wonderland magazine that, I quote, "People are well aware that this is not a movie about acting. He wants to be like on his sets, and he is." She was part of the rehearsal process for the next movie, Transformers Dark of the Moon, but was fired from the movie after the comment. Bay admitted in an interview that Steven Spielberg said fire her right now after he heard the horrific comment. She went on to act in movies such as Jennifer's Body, which was a box office bomb and earned a 43% on Rotten Tomatoes. After that she was casted in Passion Pit, which earned just 3%. I honestly think that's the lowest rating I've actually ever seen on there. Apparently she's in a movie called Zeroville that's expected to come out this year, but it was directed and created by James Franco, who's also been blacklisted in Hollywood. At least they can all work together and create their own movies, I guess. Starting off our list at #10 is Kathy Griffin. The successful actress got herself into a lot of trouble when she posted an inappropriate picture back in 2017. She decided to team up with Tyler Shields to do a very controversial photo shoot of her holding a decapitated bloody head of Donald Trump. Of course it was just a mask, but the image was so real and graphic that sites had to blur it and block it from their sites. When she first posted it to Twitter and saw people's horrified reactions, she began to tweet out that she went too far and she will be removing the picture. But a site came forward saying that Griffin and Shields were joking on set of the photo shoot, saying after the photos were released they would need to move to Mexico because they would be put in prison. She took down the picture and apologized for offending people. But months later she took her apology back and told the Rolling Stone, and I quote, "I'm not sorry, I take the apology back 1000%. The actress has received death threats and hate mail and was put on a no-fly list after undergoing 2 months of federal investigation. Her last TV booking was in 2016 before the controversy, and the only thing she has coming out in 2019 is a TV movie called A President Show Documentary, The Fall of Donald Trump. She just doesn't know when to call it quits." Swiping the #8 spot is Jamie Lynn Spears. Yes, Britney Spears has a little sister, and she was once a Nickelodeon star with her own show called Zoe 101. She played the title character Zoe, who had a super fun and innocent life at a posh boarding school, unsupervised without her parents. Young fans adored her and her carefree innocent lifestyle, but apparently the actress wasn't so innocent while off camera. She caused a major controversy when she got pregnant at the young age of 16. Not long after the announcement, Nickelodeon canceled the show, which also meant her other co-stars lost the show with her. The once actress became a mom, got married, and then gave up her acting dream and turned into a country artist instead. She's now pursuing a career as a country artist and said she has no interest in returning to acting. She might not get very far anyway, since the only thing on her acting resume was Zoe 101. In the #7 spot is Matthew Underwood. He was one of the co-stars on Zoe 101, where he played the troublemaker boy Logan Reese on the series. He continued with his acting career after the show ended, but in 2012 he got into some trouble. The actor was arrested after police searched his home and found and other paraphernalia. During the home search, he was also reported to be found in the home's master bedroom with a 17-year-old girl. This was a problem because he was 22 at the time and she was legally underage. He was let go and put on probation, but a few months later was arrested again outside a hookah lounge for violating his probation. The actor has remained out of the headlines since that final arrest and also has remained out of the Hollywood acting industry. Coming in at #6 we have Dane Cook. The comedian's career took off with his stand-up comedy talent, but also also headed into the direction of acting. He made his first on-screen appearance in the movie Employee of the Month, where he starred next to Jessica Simpson. Unfortunately, his first major role was a flop and the movie received 20% on Rotten Tomatoes. He tried to make a comeback when he took on a major role in Good Luck Chuck. The movie was given horrible reviews and received just a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes. He continued to try and book acting roles, but fans were not thrilled about it and often said he should just stick to a stand-up comedy. He is a funny guy, don't get me wrong, but there's more to acting than just being funny. Not only were his movies a flop, but his comedy took a hit after he made an inappropriate joke back in 2012 about a mass shooting. He made a joke referencing the shooting that happened in Colorado during the screening of The Dark Knight Rises. The actor apologized later for his jokes, but some people weren't so forgiving. Lately, he's also caught up in another controversy by people judging him for dating a girl who is only 19 years old. They began dating when she was just 18 years old and he was 45 at the time, and the two have continued dating for over a year now. People have had no problem voicing their opinion on the 26-year age gap. Dane is making a comeback though in comedy by doing a comedy tour this year. He admits that he will be sticking to comedy and that acting is in his past. I think it is best that that stays in the past. Halfway through the list at number 5 is Jeanette McCurdy, a young actress known for her supporting role on the show iCarly. When the successful series wrapped, she got a starring role on Nickelodeon's Sam and Cat. Things for her career seemed to be going great. This was until 2014 when nearly nude pictures of her leaked online. Tensions ran high between the actress and Nickelodeon, and she even skipped the network's 2014 Kids' Choice Awards. She took it to Twitter to blame Nickelodeon, claiming that the network had treated her badly. The leaked photos turned into a huge scandal that involved Detroit Pistons basketball player Andre Drummond. Apparently, the two of them had a short-term fling, and when it ended, she humiliated him on a podcast interview. Only a few days later, her pictures were all over the internet, and she claims that it was him. She took it to Twitter and said, "To anyone disappointed, I sent those pics to one person. You can connect the dots. Shocked someone would stoop so low." The actress left Nickelodeon and tried to continue with her career, where she was able to book some smaller roles. Since 2016, she has only booked a few short films. She does do YouTube videos for her fans and continues to try and be a social media personality instead. At number 4, we have Ryan Rotman, who began his career playing Joey Colvin in the series Gigantic. His work led him to dating Victoria Justice, who was the star of Victorious. The two were a power couple for young fans, but after the relationship fizzled out, Rotman got into some trouble with the law. In 2011, police officers spotted his car was jumping a curb, so they pulled him over. The cops smelled alcohol and he brutally failed a sobriety test. The actor blew .19 on the test, which is more than double the legal limit. His show was cancelled and he was charged with a DUI. Once he faced the court and things settled down, he continued to pursue his acting career. He's been able to book short films and small TV roles, but nothing has brought him back to the big screen. One can only imagine where his career would be now if he didn't get that DUI. Alright guys, at number 3 we have Rupert Grint, our beloved Ron Weasley in the Harry Potter movies. The actor got his big break in the industry when he was just 11 years old. The gig, which ran the course over a decade, secured his place in the film world. He earned the title of one of history's most famous child actors along with his other co-stars. After the 8th and final movie, fans expected Grint's career to take off given his successful position. Instead, he didn't really do much at all. One of the main reasons being that in between the Harry Potter movies, the actor kind of took it easy. Unlike his co-stars Daniel Radcliffe and Emma Watson, who were booking other movies in between. Throughout the entire series, he only booked 3 indie projects, missing out on a huge opportunity to showcase his acting skills. Not to mention his indie products all received horrible reviews. Turns out the actor wanted to quit acting. In 2017, he told Entertainment Weekly, and I quote, "When I started, acting was never something that I aspired to do. I fell in love with it while I was doing it, but I definitely did think, is this really what I wanted to do?" He went on to say that he felt like he missed out on a lot of life and wanted to just be free and live a little bit. When he did ease back into acting, no one really noticed. He's been able to book some smaller roles, but no movies that have brought him back to the big screen. At number 2 we have Jack Gleeson. The young actor played Joffrey Baratheon in HBO's Game of Thrones. He played the character from 2011 to 2014, but after the boy was killed off the show, Gleeson decided he wanted to step away from acting. He was in the prime of his career, but went on to tell interviewers that he didn't want to be in the spotlight and wanted to go back to school. During an interview, he said, I quote, "I hate celebrity culture." He returned back home and is now a part of his Dublin-based theatre company called Collapsing Horse. So even if Hollywood wanted a part of him, he wants no part of Hollywood. Taking our number 1 spot is Paul Rubens, aka aka Pee Wee Herman. The actor was huge for this character during the 80s as he took on 2 feature films and also a Emmy-winning children's TV series. But his image and also his career changed drastically in 1991. During a visit with his parents in Florida, he was arrested for indecent exposure at an adult movie theater because he was spotted during the movie. He was 38 years old at the time and pleaded no contest and agreed to take part in a new anti-drug campaign to avoid a trial on the misdemeanor charge. After the scandal, Pee Wee toys were pulled from shelves across the nation and Rubens hid from the public eye, pretty much disappearing for the remainder of the 90s. He attempted a comeback, but more charges of sexual nature were brought against him, this time relating to officers seized thousands of items from a collection of vintage gay erotica and also faced claims of owning sexual images of. It took yet another decade for him to come back to Hollywood, which he did in 2016's Netflix film Pee Wee's Big Holiday. He did receive some positive responses from fans, but also received a lot of negative as they didn't agree with the decision to bring him back. There's really no way he will ever make his mark in the industry again.